Robotics Show. I am here with 3277 Pro Digi. I'm here with Briley and Riley. First and foremost, how are you guys doing today?
Doing really well, just a nice day up here. Wish it would be a little warmer, but that's right.
Okay. I'm actually just realizing where you guys are at. You got the robot in the back. Are you actually in your workshop?
This is our workspace. We have a small classroom that we converted into our workspace, and we also have a machine shop and a wood shop that we work in. But this is our main working space. That's where all the fabrication is done. This is where all the building and putting together is done.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, let's go back 2 weeks. Let's talk about Grand Forks. You guys were in that final selection day. So how was Grand Forks for you guys?
I mean, it started off pretty rough. We had a breakdown in our robot. Our intake had sagged and was sinking into the floor. So we had to do some reinforcing on that. And we were building as we were driving out to the field because we needed the TAs were trying to get us onto the field. And so our battery mount, which was just used to be mounted with some VHB tape, some double-sided tape. So we just threw it on there, but I don't think anybody pressed it down enough. So we ran our 4-note auto. I think it hit 3 out of 4 of them. And then we ran for about 20 or 30 seconds before battery fell off and they shut us down. Going in further on the day, we got that fixed, of course, because I think after that it was our lunch break, so we had plenty of time. We ran really solid. I think we ran our 4-note autonomous, must have been 7 times before finals, and we missed 2 notes. And one of those was because the note, it hit another note in the air and it knocked ours out. So we had a really solid autonomous.
Okay, no, awesome. Now, okay, so if you don't mind, actually, just for the people that might not know what autonomous is, could you explain what autonomous is?
Yes, the autonomous is the part where I program the robot what to do, but I am not physically able to interact with it while it's doing it. So this is all done before the match. When the match starts, the robot does it all autonomously by itself. And then after that, I take control of it during the teleop stage.
Okay, perfect. So Briley, you're the driver. Riley, what do you do?
I'm getting into programming, and then I do team media as well.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
I scouted as well at Grand Forks.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got questions for the scouting portion of that as well, because that's always such an interesting part to me, where it's like, oh wow, there is so many things going on all the time with not just the game itself, but going back to the battery falling off and everything else like that, was it as simple as, oh, hey, we just have to tighten this, that, or whatever, or was it completely redesigning something on the fly?
No, it was pretty simple. Like I said, it was just we didn't have enough time to get mounted securely. Afterwards, we were using this 1 by 2 inches channel, and we ran some bolts all the way through our frame. It was pretty easy to get it mounted back up solid. It was just that we just were running out of time, and the field guys are like, you got to get on the field. You got to go right now. So wrapping up that fix that's the main thing that caused that issue. But after that, we ran solid.
Perfect. Now, overall with Grand Force, you had the battery mishap, but how'd you guys feel like you guys did?
I feel we did pretty good. It was my first regional I've been to. I feel that for the placing we got out of how many teams there were, I feel we did really good.
We did pretty solid. I mean, we were coming in. We had 2 matches left before finals. I think we were seeded 7th. Those last 2 matches, one of them we thought, yeah, it's going to be a close match, but we might be able to win it out. And the other one we thought should have been a pretty easy win, but we managed to lose both of those. One of those because I can't remember which one of them was, but somebody broke down. And the second match that we were like, this is gonna be a close one, both of our teammates broke down. So that one that put us down in 14th and 16th for qualification, placing before going into finals. So we're definitely not gonna be picking. but we were expecting at least a first pick, but we didn't get that. But managing to get on the team with Chaotic and Gators was really just, I mean, we went from A seed all the way up to the finals match. So I think it was a lucky pick there.
Okay, and we'll get back to that. But Riley, so first regional, how was the atmosphere in your eyes there?
I would say that it was very welcoming towards all the other teams, and the way they have it set up, it's just so professional feeling.
No, 100% agree. Yeah, no, it was it. I always think Grand Forks is a really cool venue for it and everything else. It's really nice, and it seems like when you guys are in the pits, you guys have a lot of room in the pits compared to other spots that I've seen.
I'm sure.
Now, going to the selection time. So you guys were selected, like you said, last few matches, just kind of, it's how it rolls, right? Now, do you guys know, like, okay, hey, we're going to get picked by this point because we've already talked with XYZ team?
So after the end of the first day, we were in that position where it's like, we're going to be an alliance captain. So we made calls to about 4 or 5 teams, kind of thinking, what's your guys' game plan? Do you guys know if you have any teams looking at you? Do you know what's going on with that? So we did some talking that day. We were using the fire. What was the scouting?
Yeah, I think it was like Scout Fires or something.
Fire scouting, whatever. And for whatever reason, their data they put up this year just was not very solid. Like, we were looking at our own team stats and we're like, oh man, our autonomous only made 3 in the speaker the entire time. That's not right. We ran our 4-0 autonomous for 7 matches. So we went on and looked really at the first own. They have a bunch of stats on there, and so that's where we did a lot of looking. Where I did most of my looking for teams to look at. But then, of course, during the second day, we dropped down into that 16th place. So like, maybe we'll help make us a third selection. But we were not for sure who we were going to get picked by on that day. It was really just we thought we were going to be a first pick, and after all the first picks gone through, I'm like, well, I'm really not sure where we're going to be at now.
All right. Now, okay. So you brought up the scouting in that in your answer there. Now, Riley, you're physically, like, you're doing the scouting. So how quick, when the one I believe you said it was like fire stats or something, like, how quick was it, like, this isn't right? Or
so another part of ours said we only had 1 note for something, and that wasn't true. And I'm like, wait, I didn't know we could scout autonomous. I didn't know we could do things for autonomous. I thought we just let that ran through. So part of it could have been some of my doing, but I think there were also other new scouts there that didn't know really what to do. I was lucky enough that someone else on our team scouted the year before. And so I learned from her what to do. And so it's just the following of the robot, and like when you click something or you click wrong and all of that.
Talk about the amp.
So I think it was the AMPA. I think that said we only scored once.
Well,
out of like all of teleop.
So the major issue with scoring for teams doing it on their own is trying to watch the amp, because you can't see the amp from the stands.
Oh yeah, because it's right out that. Oh.
Yeah. So if you can't see if are they shooting and missing, are they shooting and just taking that long to actually shoot it? So trying to scout that is a really big issue for this year. And maybe if they could, future. This is my feedback when we went over like the feedback of the game. I kind of put that in, like, the source and the amp should definitely be flipped, because the source, you're just going in to pick up a note. It's pretty clear. Oh, they're not picking it up, or they are. But the amp is much more, are they missing? Are they making it? It just takes really long time. It's just really hard to see that from the stands.
How we did it when we were in the stands for when one scored an amp is we'd wait for the note to like fall down because there's a little ramp that it would fall down. And so we wait to see is like, oh, this team's trying to score in the amp. Like, will they get it or will they not? And if they drive away and nothing falls down the ramp, we know they missed. But if we see the note go through the ramp, we're like, oh wait, they got it.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. No, that's interesting. I never even thought of that. That's again just another thing that like it's so cool to talk to you guys and like, okay, no, like there's this thing. If it would have been switched, it would have been really cool. But kind of staying on that topic, just how do you think of, or what do you think of the game this year?
I really like the way this game is put together. The very base principle, like if you're a rookie team and you just want to say we're just going to shoot in the speaker, that is a pretty simple concept. I mean, you're going to have a drive base and you're going to have something that shoots the notes, which is usually either a spinning, which you've been spinning wheels almost this entire year, which is not a super hard concept to like put together something. But if you're going to if you're a 10-year team or something, that has some more experience, and you're going to go for the amp and the speaker and maybe even the trap, you're getting into a lot more complicated ideas there. But it allows for that variability of teams. And even like at maybe the Grand Forks Regional, from what I've seen there was, there's the top 5 and they're all really, really good teams. But 15 teams below that, they're all pretty even. And there's just, they have some strong suits, they have some weak points. There's just a really solid group where these bots are all pretty good. Whereas in past years, maybe it's been like, top 3 are good, the 7 or X are still pretty good. But after that, it gets pretty rough selection. So I really like the way that the game feels this year. It just feels there's lots of variability you can get in it.
Okay. Now, still on the topic of kind of like the robots and everything else like that. Take your robot off the table. I've always been so interested in like, okay, there's like you said, there's a whole bunch of variables. There's a whole bunch of different ways to answer those variables. What was the most, in your opinion, besides your robot, what do you thought was the most like unique like robot out there?
The unique ones that stood out to me would be it was Gators. I think Binary's got theirs working on the second day. The teams that they had the intake that launched it into their shooter, and their shooter had the pivoting head. Because then you could have the April tags and you could have automated aiming. And that was just, I mean, it takes a lot of thoughts to connect all those together and get that working. And those are like the higher ends that are interesting to me. I also thought that Ottersbot's idea was really interesting, to just go for amp and trap. Not even attempt the speaker. I thought that was another really interesting idea.
Going back to even like, at the design portion of the robots, what does that look like? Is that a team effort, or is it really just like, okay, hey, this is what the bot's going to look like. This is how the shooting mechanism is going to go. Or is it really like, hey, we're going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall and we're going to talk about everything?
Talk about the kickoff day.
So kickoff, there was, I think 5, 6 of us that came back after we watched the kickoff video. And then like we went to the 2 different boards that we have in the room. And I started working on like, oh, wait, what are the dimensions we will need for the bot? And then other people started working on like, what will the bot look like? How will we get this to work?
So most of our like design ideas is a lot of what's going to be our 3 main components. How are we going to drive, which was pretty simple because we have our swerve base, which we've been building last year and we had together. So like we're going to use a swerve base because the game looks like it's going to be a swerve heavy. How are we going to shoot, and what are we going to go for? So tying those together, to start off, like our shooter, we're like, let's mock up, how tight do we want to squish the note? So we're going to use a laser to cut out some wood, and we put bearing holes in it. So we're going to squish the note. These set of bearings will squish the note 1 inch. These set of bearings will squish it 1/2 inch. And we tested that. And once we had that, we're like, let's test these green squishy wheels. Let's test these blue harder wheels. And then after you protoed it all out, you build its own, like our shooter was all one piece. And then the last step in that is how do you attach that to the robot? Building things in those separate containers or segments like that allows you to change it out if it doesn't work in your final concept. Whereas if you build it all at once and one thing goes wrong, now you don't have to start all the way again. So building those components makes it a lot easier to fix when unforeseen accidents happen in there.
Now, I'm going to say this. You started talking about how tight grabbing the keynote or the I kept on calling it a donut. I was like, it's a donut, right? Like so you guys are getting that specific where it's like, no, we have to grip it like this hard. Wow, that's absurd.
Because the squish on how much you squish on the note affects how much how much tension you're giving on the out.
And not to cut you off, but like that's crazy. Like, again, it's just something like I don't think about. You're talking to a guy who can hardly toast, right? So like when I like, oh look, you're in this workshop and you got a completely functioning robot behind you. Like that's crazy. So you guys, how quickly did you guys realize like, okay, no, that the whole gripping and how tight or loose we're getting it is like, was that trial and error or was that just like, yeah, no, we have to think about that?
Nope. So like I said, we took a plywood sheet that was, I don't remember how big it was, but we cut out 3 sets of holes and these holes were spaced so it would grip the note at this much. These holes were spaced this much, so you could just put your wheel set up in there, test it, said, oh, this one barely flings it out. Oh, this one is grabbing pretty good, or this one it's not going at all. So we go with that one that works. We put it in a final, which this year we went with a lot of plexiglass because we wanted to get that see-through so you can kind of see where the note is in your robot. But also for some LED lighting, kind of if you engrave into the plexi, it like really lights up. So we wanted to get some bling this year because our initial like thought of what the robot was going to look like came out like pretty early. Like we protoed most of our stuff and it was all working pretty solid. So the final steps of like putting it together was done early enough where we could start to split off some of our other builders into looking into LED lighting, which is really cool because usually we're like 3 days before competition, we're just trying to get a robot together. So that's like what I was talking about. This game this year allowed for more expanding into so many different horizons where before it's just trying to get a robot that can do most of the things on the field.
Okay. Now, going back to Grand Forks. So this year, last year they also had a practice field and everything else like that. But I noticed this, like for this game, that practice field was just bumping to a point where it had the practice field, and I believe people were calling it the playground, the wooden structures of everything. How much of the time are you guys like in the pits versus on that practice field?
The big reason why I think the practice field was so important this year was with Pathfinder coming out and being so solid. Trying to do it on your own field as compared to the one that like the NMR sees is very, very, very similar to the actual one. Is like the carpet, the slippage you get on the carpet can affect your path enough where you'll start perfect and you'll end a foot like to the right, a foot to the left. So building it on that practice field and seeing this is where it's got to go, like the path planner gives you a map of the field. And if I were to, and you just drag these dots, like I'm going to have my robot go right here on the center of the note. When I get on that carpet, it'll actually be a foot to the right. So I now have to offset all my spots by that far. So you have to figure out what your kind of offset is from how much your robot slips on the field. So that was a big component of why there's so many people on the practice field, but also how the game pieces behave, like people trying to shoot into the speaker and seeing how far your distance is. There's just a lot of testing that was hard to do with like our own created game pieces.
Okay. Now, the other part of the game, which I always love the human element of it, who did do the human tossing the note to the stage? Oh, okay. How did we do?
I wasn't doing it for the competition, but I'm planning on doing it for the next one. But
You
I
did some.
not at the competition.
You did a little bit, maybe not.
There was a practice field set up at Nevis that we went to, and I practiced throwing the notes there. And then I think out of 40 shots or so, I got like 5 on. So it's more so that I'm we're more so planning on having me feed the robot, but if last case, like worst case scenario, I need to be at the amp, I have somewhat of a know-how to do it.
When we started off, we were trying to intake from the shooter end of our robot. We run our shooters in reverse, intake like that, but it became too time consuming to try to line it up. So we switched to our floor intake and just having it drop on the floor. We'd have to be some issues with teams coming to steal it, but once you're 3 seconds away, you're close enough where if they try to steal with it, you'll draw those foul points off of them, which is worth a lot more for us than it is for them if they take that note. The other side of it is we didn't do much with amp scoring. We weren't consistent enough. I think we had one game where like, oh, we'll try doing amp scoring, and we only made like 1 or 2. Our shooter was not built for it, but we did some changes to it here, and we're gonna try to go back in and be amp. So our human player might be on amp, they might be on source. It's just kind of where does another team need us to fill in?
Oh, okay. Oh, now, talking, human element, the team element, how was the, team camaraderie or, traveling to Grand Forks? How was the team atmosphere?
It was pretty good. We traveled in separate vehicles. So Briley went early, and then there was the rest of us that went in the van together. And so it was good. It's a short drive from here to Grand Forks.
With other teams.
Well, team atmosphere. Okay.
With other teams.
Anyways, I would say it was very good. It was tight knit. It was a close community.
Oh, perfect. Now, we're 2 weeks out of Grand Forks. What is the next competition for you guys or event?
St. Cloud.
St. Cloud. Okay. Is there, how much of it is like what is practice? What is, work time looking like from now to St. Cloud, which I believe is next weekend?
First weekend in April.
First weekend in April. Okay.
So we decided we were going to make some changes to our shooter. Looking at some of the teams we saw there, we were going to go with a design that gave us some more power. When we put ours at 100, they wouldn't shoot out very far, but we wanted the ability to chuck notes across the field like some other teams, like maybe Chaotic, and kind of did a little bit of borrowing of their roller idea, but put our own spin on it. And it's working pretty good so far. This weekend, actually, we're going to go to Alexandria. The NMRC is setting up one of their practice fields there. I think there's like 5 other teams that are also going, so it's going to be pretty busy there, but we're going to hopefully get some more autonomous programming in on that field and then test our shooter. That's the main thing we changed is our shooter. Test our shooter on there and see, is it working like we're hoping it's going to work.
Okay. Now, so going to Alexandria, 5 other teams. I mean, how are you guys just like, okay, we're just going to be on the field the entire time, or is it like, okay, hey, we're only going to really run maybe like 2 or 3 practice matches?
I think the idea of the teams going down to that practice field is going to be a lot of people working on their own thing. It's going to be very much like the practice field is at the competition, where everybody's kind of working on their own things. But maybe towards the end, we're all going, let's throw together a practice match. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of people trying to do the same thing as us, is work on their autonomous. So it's going to probably be like, hey, you guys can go in, you work on it for 30 minutes and switch off and kind of have like a rotating cycle there. Because like I said, the biggest thing is autonomy. If you can have an autonomous that works really well with another team's autonomous, that boosts you up from maybe a 15th or like a second a day of pick to that first place pick if you're hoping to get picked by a higher place team.
All right, alrighty. Now, with where you guys are in the season, I mean, is this where you guys wanted to be in the season, or are we better, or are we like, we're a little behind with what we thought would be?
I'd say 100% we're right where we want to be. I mean, with the showing we put on at Grand Forks, we may have not finished quite as high as we would hope to, but after finals, I mean, coming in as the ace seat and going all the way to finals is pretty awesome. And then we qualified for state from that, so that's pretty awesome as well. So we'll definitely we'll be able to go on to state. But being able, like last year, our robot at Grand Forks, we realized we can't use this robot anymore. It's not going to be able to allow us to be competitive at another competition. Whereas right now, it's like we make one change, we might be that first place alliance going into finals, hopefully. That's the thought. Like we're right where we want to be. We still, I mean, like I said, we're going to go practice, put our robot on a field this Saturday. After that, we still have 2 weeks of, how do we make it better? How do we clean it up? How do we add more lights on there and make it look flashy?
Now, and again, this question for both of you, and it can be either team oriented or maybe even more personal oriented. What is an end goal for you guys, for you or you guys, at the end of the season?
I would say our end goal is to finish high and mighty. It's to be put out there and seen as we may come from a town on the smaller side of things, but we have the ability to get where we want to be.
Maybe not small town, but a smaller team.
That too.
We have the St. Cloud regional, and that's our last regional of the year. Hoping to get a world trip because we have 2 seniors on the team, and we do just try to see them get to Worlds. And I'd like to go see what Worlds is all about. I've never been there myself, so that's the hope, is to get a trip at St. Cloud. I mean, we were this short at Grand Forks. Hopefully, we can make it up. I know it's going to be a tougher competition there because CIS, Mystery Machine, some of those top teams in the state are probably going to be there. So it's going to be a tougher competition, but hopefully we can be one of those top bots.
Okay. Now, before I let you guys go, anything else you wanted to add, say, or even a shout out before I let you guys go?
Don't think so.
Okay. No. Perfect. Well, seriously, Riley, I truly appreciate you guys taking time. It's always awesome talking to you guys. ProDigi is fantastic. It's been really cool kind of watching you guys the last 2 years. Just do your thing. And one thing that you guys definitely push forward is that professionalism. You guys are very, very professional going in there. So it's always awesome talking to you guys. So thank you guys so much. For everybody else, stay tuned.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. how well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
And we're here with Cole from Team 5929, YLE Robotics. And Cole, you guys were just at the Great Northern Regional a couple weeks ago. And before we kind of hop into things, just kind of tell us a little bit about how you guys did over at the competition.
We did pretty good. We didn't do the greatest, but we did pretty good for a team who is mostly all rookie players this year. I believe we got 52nd, I believe, at the final end, but it was a fun experience because a lot of the kids got to join this year and find out how the competition is and like what actually goes on, because last year we were a senior heavy team, so it's all new kids, so the process was a little different for everyone, but it was nice to actually go and be able to compete this year.
And Cole, how long have you been in robotics yourself?
I've been in since 7th grade, so that would be 6 years, I believe.
And what then just overall, like, explain to me, like, maybe how it's been having to shift into that role. Like you mentioned last year, you had like a lot of senior heavy team, lots of leadership, where this year it's mostly rookies and young early, or people who haven't been it too long. And just overall, what's it been like to have to be maybe that leader in the group?
It's different, but it's the same as previous years, because the last couple of years, even though it was a senior heavy team, I was still one of the like main people. So it's still have to have some people like underneath me doing, like, helping me with things. Mostly this year, it's mostly transitioned into more having, obviously I would help build and everything, but I would be more telling them what to do instead of me building it like I would do previous years, because they would tell me what to build and I would start building it. But this year it would be mostly them building it and teaching them how to. Okay.
And you mentioned that this is, I believe you said 6th year in robotics, so that would make you a senior this year. And what do you have for plans after high school? Do you know yet?
I'm going to MSUM in Moorhead for art education, because other than just being in robotics, I've been a huge art student, and to me that's the only like art career that I can physically do that would make it so I'm not bankrupt doing art and I'll have an actual career. And then I was thinking maybe doing robotics, but in our area, it's not, a lot of it is more like working at like team and stuff like that, or manufacturing, where I wanted it, like if I went into robotics, I wanted the job to be just like how robotics was here, like actually building the robot and testing it and doing stuff with it, where other places it's more so you just run the robot or maintenance and stuff. So it's because I wanted to be closer to home, and the places that did have what I want were further away. So I settled on the art degree instead of robotics.
Okay. And has robotics allowed you to kind of do some art stuff for your Raider Robotics? Has it like opened the doors to you? Maybe like, I guess, just have you been able to institute your art into robotics? Like, have you been able to design shirts, logos, anything like that? Has that opened the door for anything?
Yep, it's helped a lot, because a lot of times when we don't use like CAD or any of, like, we don't 3D model our robot. Most of the times when we have an idea, we'll draw it up on those giant like Post-it, like paper board things. But it helps a lot because then, well, I'm not pointing any fingers, but some kids aren't the greatest at drawing. So it's nice to be able to use my drawing so you can actually see what we're planning on doing. And then, yeah, it helped designing shirts, because I designed this year's shirts, and the logo is always the same, but it's always slightly different.
Okay. And you kind of mentioned that you were toying with the idea of like doing robotics at the college level, but have you ever thought about maybe coming back as a mentor?
Yes, I was looking at the alumni groups a couple weeks ago before the competition, and I saw the only one close to us is Bison Robotics. And I did reach out to them asking, being a student at MSUM, if I was able to join their robotics, and they said yes. And because they do a lot of volunteer work as mentors and stuff. So I was thinking maybe coming back either to a different team or this team here and mentoring if I joined that group.
Okay. How about you guys as a team? You want to tell us a bit about your team, how many people you have in it? I know you mentioned it's a younger group. And yeah, maybe talk about your role with the team as well.
This year, I believe we have 7 to 8 kids, which isn't that much compared to other teams, but it allows it. So obviously it still gets a little crowded, but it's not super bad where like some teams, like they have like all 30 people there. Because some groups are just like, if you go to competition, look at the stands, all those kids that are there are on the team. Obviously they do other jobs, but still it's a lot. But it's been nice because I've known all of them for a while, and then a lot of them were new kids, but I've known for stuff similar like construction and stuff like that. So it was nice knowing them so I can use their skills in the way we needed to.
Awesome. What's been like we've mentioned before, you've been in robotics for 6 years. That's a lot of experience, different things like that, just a lot of experiences throughout the years. What are some moments from your robotics career that have stood out to you the most?
I don't really know, but one of my favorite moments from like learning from this competition is like when you're having trouble with your robot and there's not really anything you can do about it, so you have to like improvise on stuff. So my favorite thing that I've done like along those lines were a couple years ago when we had to climb up on those like step bars, we had to pull the robot up. Mm-hmm. We were able to pull our robot up, but when the match was over and the robot shut down, the robot would just fall back down. like it wouldn't hold itself. So we drilled a bunch of holes and added one of those like spring-loaded locks for closets in it. And so when it would reach up, the lock would shoot into the arm and physically lock it in. And we had to reset it every match. But it was one of my favorite moments because it was like we did that like the second to last match. And we went from dead last to like 5 places up a couple years ago. So it was an awesome moment for stuff like that.
Awesome. And how about your robot this year? I know you mentioned you kind of placed in that 50th place range at this Great Northern Regional, but what were some things you thought your robot did well this year or so far this year? And what are some things you're looking to improve on?
This year it was a little bit of struggle, but we did pretty good at defense this year because we tried to make a shooter, but we had problems with just it being too tight and too much friction to shoot. It would shoot, but it wouldn't shoot high enough to go into the speaker. And then we only had it angled for the speaker, so we couldn't get into the amplifier without making some serious changes. So we mostly worked on defense from blocking them, picking up notes, and hanging. And that was our main big thing the last couple matches was blocking people's from the area where they pick up notes and hanging. And then we had problems with the hanging because it would lift us up, but it wouldn't lift up our front. So we had really nice idea making session, a couple of us in our hotel rooms, and we made it so we built like a winch in the front of our robot to lift up the front. And it would have worked, but I accidentally knocked the third hook for the winch off in like the beginning of the last round. Sadly, we didn't get to use it, but it would have been a huge change and awesome thing to do. But sadly.
I mean, you kind of mentioned some of the aspects to this year's game, Crescendo, and I just, what are some things that, what do you think of the game so far?
Crescendo, it's been fun, but it's also I wish for a little bit more change throughout the games because they've always been pick something up, shoot it into like a basket or area, and then lift yourself up for like the last couple times. But every year it's fun to do the new ideas, but I wish for a little bit of change, like something other than picking it up and shooting it, because it's kind of been, if you look at everyone's designs, they've been the same, where it's like a big thing that comes, scoops it up, aims, and shoots. So I wish for a little bit more incentive change, but otherwise, Crescendo was really fun to do. We only go to the one regional because it's so expensive, but it was fun. It's the people there when we went are always the same people, so it's kind of like one big family there because everyone's helping each other and we all know each other. And this year through Crescendo, we made some new friends. There's some teams that like helped us like a lot, and I know the kids next year will definitely be good friends with them next year.
Okay. And just why should people join robotics? So what are some benefits that you've seen over the years that what are some benefits students can gain from being in an organization like the NMRC in robotics?
I would say teamwork is one of the biggest ones because a lot of it's the robots aren't that big in comparison to like other things. So you're always in people's personal space, and through that, the teamwork that you build and friendship over the years really are a great aspect to learn because like if you later on become a cook in a line kitchen, you're going to be next to each other's, and it kind of shows you and teaches you how to like control your emotions and be able to be with a team and stuff like that. And then it really helps being able to, like, you might not go in your profession as an electrician or mechanic or any of that stuff, but it helps you so you have a general idea, like kind of what to do. like I'm fixing up my truck right now. I wouldn't have any idea what to do if it wasn't for robotics, because I have not, other than robotics, I have nothing to do with mechanical stuff, and it's been a huge help. So I would say teamwork, mechanical and electrical, and even coding are great things to learn, because we need a lot more mechanics and coders and all that stuff. So they're really nice skills to learn for your profession.
Awesome. Well, Cole, was there anything else that you wanted to say either about Lake Park Audubon, Raider Robotics, or robotics as a whole, or just anything else that anyone to shout out during while you have this platform? Just anything like that before we get going.
I not really, but if I were to shout out anyone, it would have to be for the robotics team in Frazee, Chaotic Robotics. They're so close to us that we've done joint practices and all that stuff. And they've been like over the top awesome team to help us with our robot the last couple years. Because every time we go there, we'll be in a scramble of a mess getting things done. And we'll go over there and we'll get more done than we have in like the last month. It's just, they've been a huge help the last 3 years, I believe, that we've teamed up with them.
Well, awesome, Cole. I appreciate the time here today, and we'll just good luck on your future endeavors and good luck as a art teacher.
Okay, thank you.